Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, and today I am wishing Sonic a very happy 25th anniversary. That's pretty crazy. Not many games have lived to see that many years, and it's pretty awesome, and Sonic is my favorite video game character of all time, so I hope he sticks around for at least another 25 years. So I tried to think about what sort of video I'd like to do for his 25th anniversary. And I thought, hey, maybe I can make a video about what I'd like to see in the future of Sonic, because I've never really done a video like that yet, so no better time than the present, right? So I actually have two ideas for games that I'd like to see in Sonic's future, because honestly I had one idea and then I suddenly came up with another one and it was like, well, I think it'd be better to just talk about both instead of saving one for later. So, in terms of gameplay, both of my game ideas have the same formula, which is basically to merge the best of Sonic Generations gameplay, the modern gameplay that is, with the best of Sonic Lost World, because I think the parkour in Sonic Lost World was a good idea. It just needs to be a little bit better executed. For example, I don't think Sonic runs fast enough when he's doing the parkour. Because just looking at the footage here, I feel that Sonic should just go much faster up the wall. He's supposed to be the fastest thing alive. Now, I'm not saying he should be equally fast going up the walls as he is when boosting on the ground, because I can still see why Sonic is slow when doing the parkour. They wanted the game to be able to control a little bit better, but I think they compensated a little bit too much. I think Sonic should be a little bit faster than that, both when running straight up walls and just running sideways along the wall. Other than incorporating the parkour from Sonic Lost World, I think the game should play pretty much like modern Sonic's levels in Generations. I think they nailed Sonic's gameplay pretty much perfectly in that game. The only other things I change are to make the game about 80 to 90% 3D. I think we've had enough 2D in modern platformers in general, although I don't mind having 2D show up at a few big sort of cinematic sequences in the game, but overall I'm kinda tired of doing the new Super Mario Bros. Sort of thing. I also wouldn't mind seeing more skydiving sequences. I really love those. They really change up the pace a little bit, and they're still really fun and feel very Sonic-y, so those should stick around. Just don't bring back the clouds from Sonic Lost World. I did not like that at all. It just, I don't know, it felt a bit too out of place, I think, in a Sonic game. When it comes to the playable characters, though, this is where my two ideas start to get really different. I really think they should start reintroducing the idea of having more playable characters other than Sonic in the main games again. Because as fun as Sonic is, his universe is filled with so many fun and colorful characters that can really bring a lot to the table. My first idea basically is a compressed and more focused version of Sonic Adventure 2, where you would have Sonic as the good character, and you could play as Eggman if you wanted to go to the dark side. One of my favorite parts of Sonic Adventure 2 is just the idea of being able to play as Dr. Eggman. I really don't think there's enough games out there where you can see both sides of the story, the hero side and the villain side. While I did enjoy the mech stages of Sonic Adventure 2, I think they should do something brand new for Eggman in this game. So maybe he could fly around in his Eggmobile. It would still play a little bit like modern Sonic stages, but it would be a little bit slower and be a bit more attack-based. Perhaps you could use the Wrecking Ball from Green Hill Zone Act 2, or maybe you could even have the Eggmobile transform into the drill car from Sonic 2 as a super move. It would be really silly, but yeah, I wouldn't mind Eggman continuing being the silly villain that he's been since Sonic Colors. Since this game would be played from two different perspectives, Eggman would have completely different levels than Sonic. Maybe a few could be very similar in setting, but I think Eggman's levels should be pretty different since he would be more combat-based than Sonic and not as fast. The other idea I have is to have Sonic and Knuckles playable, and possibly Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles as well. because the story idea I have for the second game is basically Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles teaming up. In the case of this game though, I wouldn't really need Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles to be playable because they would be very similar to their organic counterparts in gameplay anyways. When it comes to playing as Knuckles in a modern Sonic game, I think Knuckles should play about the same as Sonic, except he'll run slower and he should still glide and climb, but the gliding would be adjusted so that it wouldn't be extremely overpowered or anything, and same would go with the climbing. Knuckles would also have the same levels as Sonic, so you could just swap out between Sonic and Knuckles between levels, and it wouldn't really change much unless you just want to slow down a little bit more and you want to explore as Knuckles, or you just want to speed through the level a little bit faster as Sonic. Now let's get to the other major part I wanted to talk about in this video for both games, the story. I think going forward they should do some more involved stories. Like, not necessarily ones that would be 15 hours long or anything crazy like that, but just stories that are more memorable than what we've seen in the recent games. The story idea I have for the Sonic and Eggman game is that you'd have a new character who would basically be the Sonic equivalent of Vision from the Marvel comics. This Vision-like character would be warning Sonic and Eggman of a huge threat that's coming from his dimension or universe. And of course Eggman is trying to turn this guy to his side because he'd want to use him to help take over the world, because this guy is completely neutral. This character, while very powerful, is quite gullible like Knuckles was in the older games. So if Eggman convinces him that he's in the right, he definitely will help Eggman take over the world once the threat from his own world is dealt with. Obviously Sonic doesn't want that to happen, so him, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy will try to turn him to their side too. As the story goes along, the new character switches sides, so depending on who you're playing as, he may be helping the opposing boss fight you. In a big twist, Sonic ends up losing to Eggman in a solo final battle, and the new character fully sides with Eggman. Then, much like in the Adventure era, you unlock the final story. The threat from the new character's world is a creature who can possess others and promptly takes over his body. This leaves no choice but for Sonic and Eggman to call a temporary truce and team up. You can freely switch between Super Sonic and Eggman in his big arm from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, much like how you can switch between Sonic and Shadow in the final Hazard battle from Sonic Adventure 2. This final boss battle would be split into two phases. The new character would be possessed in the first phase, and then in the second phase the big bad leaves his body and turns back into his true form, leaving the new character to help you land each hit until the villain is defeated. Before he dies, he hints at a looming threat even bigger than himself. The new character thanks everyone for their help and returns to his world. The status quo is restored, but for how long? This would leave the door open for more continuity in later Sonic games. So that's pretty much it for the story of the Sonic and Eggman game. So that leaves me with the other game idea I have with the Metal Knuckles and Metal Sonic team-up. Admittedly, I haven't thought of this one as much. It mainly just stemmed from the idea that I really would like to see Metal Knuckles come back. And I definitely think him teaming up with Metal Sonic would be a really good way to do that. So the story begins with Sonic defeating Eggman yet again. Eggman later has a monologue lamenting how he's struggling to think of ideas to defeat Sonic, and mentions to himself that Metal Sonic is his best creation. That makes him realize that maybe the best way to defeat Sonic isn't to keep sending his metal doppelganger after him, but also one of Sonic's other friends. He thinks back to Sonic R when he built Metal Knuckles, and decides to rebuild him to steal the Master Emerald from Knuckles, who is rightfully the guardian of the Master Emerald again. Eggman, being as arrogant as he is, decides Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles are enough and can do all the dirty work for him as he watches from a distance. And of course, Eggman would have popcorn while watching all of that. You'd still have a lot of the conventional boss battles, but instead you'd have Metal Sonic or Metal Knuckles either piloting the vehicles or straight up fighting on their own against Sonic and Knuckles. Again, there would be a final story to unlock. Just as the Metal antagonists are facing defeat, Eggman reveals that Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles can fuse together into one giant robot that puts Metal Overlord from Sonic Heroes to shame. For the final boss battle, Sonic and Knuckles fight the fused Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles in their super forms. Knuckles deserves to have a super form again, darn it. Anyways, the switching would also work like the final Hazard boss battle. After the fight, there would be a humorous sequence where you run after Eggman and hit him a few times as either Sonic or Knuckles, depending on who you finished the battle with. This is an idea inspired by how you could chase after money bags in Spyro Year of the Dragon. Eggman lies down in defeat, Sonic and Knuckles share some witty banter, and the game ends. Overall, the story of this game would be much lighter in tone than the other one. One other idea for this game is that maybe once you collect all of the red star rings, you could unlock the ability to play as Metal Sonic or Metal Knuckles in the normal levels, except that Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles would basically be more powerful versions of their organic counterparts, so you could do some potentially crazy stuff with them. Metal Sonic would be a lot faster than Sonic, and Metal Knuckles' glide, his glide would basically descend a lot slower than Knuckles, just like how it worked in Sonic R. One more aspect I'd like to quickly touch upon before I wrap up this video is the art style. I'm pretty much fine with how the games have looked from Unleashed and onwards, so I don't think that really needs to be changed much. I wouldn't mind seeing a Sonic game that's styled like the intro to the first Sonic Riders game, but I think that would take an insanely long time to make, and I wouldn't really want to see that in the main Sonic game. I think I'd rather have that sort of thing saved for a spin-off. Well, there you go. There's my special video for Sonic's 25th anniversary. I know the likelihood of these games will probably never happen, but all in all, I'd really love to see Sonic games that bring it more like to Sonic Generations, but include the parkour from Sonic Lost World, and overall just have some more memorable stories, even if they're not super deep, but at least ones that use characters in a memorable way. Let me know what you think of these ideas in the comment section below, and what you'd like to see in a future Sonic game. And with all of that said, happy anniversary to my favorite video game character ever, and I really hope the 25th anniversary game will be worth the very long wait. I'll talk to you guys later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.